Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into everything coming to Epic Universe. Now, Epic Universe is setting up to be one of the greatest theme parks, if not the greatest theme park to ever hit the United States. It's boasting a sizable 750 acres, and it features more than 50 attraction, entertainment, dining, and shopping experiences throughout its 5 immersive worlds. Now, Epic Universe is going to take quite a bit of preparation before stepping through those gates, and that's what we are here to do. We are talking rides, shows, food, early park admission, you name it, we're talking about it. Now make sure if you want to see future Epic Universe content to subscribe to the channel, and if you find this video helpful along the way, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Now we're breaking it all down world by world, starting with the heart of it all, Celestial Park. This is the central hub of the park that connects to all of the other lands. But this isn't just some fancy walkway, it's a full-blown experience. You've got huge water features, glowing gardens, and even a massive space-themed roller coaster called Stardust Racers. Now, Stardust Racers is a dual launch coaster reaching speeds up to 62 miles per hour and heights of 133 feet. This is the big thrill ride many guests are looking forward to, but there's so much more to it than just a fast and thrilling coaster. You know, Universal loves that wow factor front and center as you walk into their parks. Think of like Hulk over at Islands, Rip Ride at Universal Studios, and obviously the iconic volcano as you walk into Volcano Bay. Now, while Stardust Racers may not be front and center per se, have no mistake, this will be an iconic attraction visually, just like its predecessors. Now, keep an eye on the attraction in the evenings as the track itself is not lit up, but rather the coaster trains are brightly lit to give the illusion of comets sailing through the night sky. This ride will have a height requirement of 48 inches and will be available for early park admission, which is great news as I expect this ride will have some of the longest wait times in the entire park. Now, while everybody is focusing on Stardust Racers, don't forget about Constellation Carousel because this is a stunning celestial themed spinning ride that's not your average kiddie carousel. This one has a floating, dreamlike effect, making it a must ride for all ages. Now, one thing to keep in mind is as you are traveling through the Milky Way here, there is no height requirement, so that is a nice little plus. But just keep in mind, I think this is going to really shock you with how different this is compared to some of the other carousels out there. Now, when it comes to dining, we have a plethora of options here. Now, for starters, the only 2 full-service restaurants at Epic Universe are here in Celestial Park, which include the Blue Dragon Pan-Asian restaurant and Atlantic. Blue Dragon will have flavors of Asia with authentic Chinese, Japanese, and Thai, while Atlantic will have more of a surf and turf style cuisine. Now, Atlantic seems to have some beautiful views of Celestial Park as they have windows that span from floor to ceiling, allowing you to see the beautiful architecture of the land as you dine. But if you're looking for something a little bit more heat forward, I would definitely check out the Blue Dragon. Now, for quick service, we have Oak and Star Tavern, which will offer savory barbecue and cold beer. And I have been asking for more barbecue in the park, and it looks like Universal has finally answered. Now, there are a few other quick service options, including Meteor Astropub, Comet Dogs, Bar Zenith, and Celestiki. They also have a few snack and beverage options like Pizza Moon, which serves, you guessed it, pizza, and Frosty Moon, which will have some ice cream delights. Now, Celestial Park is inspired by astronomy and mythology, which means you'll be experiencing some fun lighting ceremonies throughout the land, as the story is told that Apollo, the god of the sun, is handing off the baton to Luna, the goddess of the moon. So ultimately, you will watch the land transform right before your eyes as day turns to night, with the lighting and music pioneering the way. There will also be a lagoon show called Cosmos that will be performed on the fountains with dancing water jets. And speaking of water, as I mentioned, we do have a small splash pad called Astronomica. That is said to potentially interact with the main show as well, but they haven't confirmed anything yet. What's pretty cool is Celestial Park is said to have a completely custom soundtrack with the most custom music Universal has ever commissioned. This means this would be a great area to sit and soak up the ambiance of such a beautifully themed area. Now, we don't have the official details as of the release of this video, but we do know they have been testing a massive fireworks show that has been lasting about 25 minutes. The fireworks are displayed in the concept art, so we can assume we'll get some more information on it closer to opening date. That said, we do know they launched the main fireworks from beyond the Helios Grand Hotel, but during the most recent testing, we have seen multiple launch sites for the fireworks. Now, we did see in the concept art again that there were fireworks being displayed all over, so hopefully everything does come to fruition sooner than later. Next up, we're gonna head clockwise around the park, and we are heading over to the world everybody's been waiting for, Super Nintendo World. This version is even bigger than the one at Universal Hollywood, featuring some pretty major attractions. Now, once inside, you will find two areas in this world, the first being Super Mario Land and the second being Donkey Kong Country. Inside of Donkey Kong Country, you will find the Minecart Madness ride. This is a thrilling family coaster that'll have you jumping across broken gaps in the track and performing other eye-popping feats straight from the Donkey Kong Country video games. This boom coaster style attraction is actually Universal's patented ride system, so you won't find anything like this anywhere else but at the Universal parks, at least for the time being. The minimum height requirement for this attraction is 40 inches, and children under 48 inches must be accompanied by a supervising companion. Handheld infants are not permitted. The other two attractions will be found in Super Nintendo World, the first being Yoshi's Adventure that has you taking a ride with Yoshis searching for the glowing eggs, and a family-friendly dark ride throughout the Mushroom Kingdom. Now, this attraction has a minimum height requirement of 34 inches and supervising companion required if you are under 48 inches. They don't state whether handheld infants are not permitted or not, and based on the style of ride that this is, I kind of imagine they'll be okay, but again, we'll find that out when the time does come. Our final attraction is Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. Now, if you've ever wanted to live out your own personal Mario Kart Grand Prix, here's the chance to do so. This is an augmented reality ride where you'll collect digital coins and throw shells to try and defeat Team Bowser and win the Golden Cup. They state that this ride has multiple outcomes, so this is definitely an attraction you'll want to experience multiple times. That being said, the minimum height requirement is 40 inches, and supervising companion is required under 48 inches. Definitely a lot of supervising companions here inside of Super Nintendo World. I have some great news for those of you that love the Super Nintendo World, as all three of the attractions here inside of the land will be available for early park admission, and that is Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, Yoshi's Adventure, and the Minecart Madness. So all three attractions will be available. Now, unfortunately, that is the end of the line for the early park admission attractions. Stardust Racers is the fourth and the last option there for the early park admission rides. However, it's awesome to see that the entire area of Nintendo will be open early, as again, I do think this is going to be one of, if not the most popular land here at Epic Universe. As for food, we do have Toadstool Cafe coming back, serving up adorable themed dishes straight from the Mushroom Kingdom. We do have some fun snack and beverage options, including Yoshi's Snack Island, Turbo Boost treats, and lastly, the Bubbly Barrel, which can be found in Donkey Kong Country. Don't forget that this land has a lot of interactive elements with the power-up bands. Now, these are an additional purchase, however, but you're going to go around doing these key challenges, trying to beat the games and collecting digital keys. And when you have enough of these keys, that number is going to be 3, you'll be able to unlock the Bowser Jr. Shadow Showdown. And on top of the interactive elements all over the land, you also have meet and greets where you can meet some of your favorite Nintendo characters. And we just recently confirmed that we are getting Donkey Kong as one of the official meet and greets. Based on the knowledge that we do have of this land, I'd highly recommend doing the games earlier than later, as the interactive games do seem to get quite busy as the day goes on. Our next portal will transport us to the terrifying world of Dark Universe. This is Universal's take on the classic monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. This land is filled with so many unique experiences, you are definitely going to want to carve some extra time out to see all of the exciting elements inside. Speaking of elements, the Burning Blade Tavern will erupt into flames several times an hour, much like the Dragon and Diagon Alley. They actually use 2 different types of fuels to burn the tavern, which allows for easy visibility to guests during the day and at night. And as a tavern, you can bet they'll have your typical tavern food, like burgers, wings, and pretzels, and specialty beverages. Now, if you prefer to dine with vampires, however, Das Steakhouse is a unique quick service option that should function pretty similarly to the 3 Broomsticks or the Leaky Cauldron. Now, if any of you love cinnamon bread as much as I do, you'll need to make a stop at DeLacy's Cottage, which is the final quick service offering here in Dark Universe. If it's as good as Dollywood cinnamon bread, then I am in big trouble. But we do need to talk about the attractions in this land. One of them specifically, I know many fans of the horror genre can't wait to sink their teeth into. And that ride is, of course, Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment. This attraction is set to operate similarly to Forbidden Journey with the Kuka arm technology, but we are hearing it has a lot more practical elements and a lot less screens. This is great news for people like myself that maybe get nauseous on Forbidden Journey, but they like the elements of the ride, so this should be a massive help for anyone that gets motion sickness. The ride itself has been touted by Universal to be the scariest attraction they've ever created, and with the track record of Universal, they're no rookies to making some seriously terrifying attractions, so I am definitely looking forward to this one. Now, I have been hearing that even the elements of the queue are particularly scary, and young riders should be warned of the intensity this ride is going to bring from the second you jump in line. Do keep in mind that this attraction has a minimum height requirement of 48 inches as well. The second attraction in this land may not be as intense, but it's no less epic, and that is the Curse of the Werewolf with a 40-inch height requirement. This ride is considered a swing launch coaster that'll have you spinning around as you whip through the dark forest at speeds of 37 miles per hour. I will point out that the speed is deceptive. Anytime you are rotating in circles while moving quickly, you will definitely feel the intensity more than a traditional roller coaster. The story elements here are going to really make this attraction a very atypical roller coaster, which is a great addition to Dark Universe. Once you're all finished up riding some rides and trying some food here in Dark Universe, there are a few small things still left to experience in here. One of those being some roaming artists that are playing music throughout the land. We've been hearing some awesome stories about that. Again, they are playing live music as you walk around. Very eerie, very spooky, but also we're finally getting some monster meet and greets here in Universal Orlando. We know that they have them at other parks, and it's about time we get them here on the East Coast. Now, also, if you'd like to blend in, they do have the Darkmoor Monster Makeup experience, where we did actually have something that was here inside of Universal Studios Orlando for a very brief time, where you could pay money and get your face decorated like one of the classic monsters, or just a spooky figure if you wanted to do that. It was amazing, and the makeup artists are incredible, so I do think this is going to be quite the hit, and you will fit right in here at Dark Universe. The next portal we are heading to will be the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic. Now, this land is super unique because we are taking two of the IPs in Harry Potter, which is kind of the original Harry Potter, and then the other story of Fantastic Beasts, and merging it into one land. Now, both Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley are just focused on the original story there, and this is a situation where you're going to have both sides of the stories kind of coming together in one land. So it'll be cool to see how they ultimately implement everything between areas and how it kind of seamlessly flows. Now, we do only have one ride here, and that is Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. This is definitely going to be the crown jewel of the land. It is a motion-based dark ride, and from what we are seeing, it is an omnidirectional lift system, kind of similar to what we see over at the Tower of Terror. Now, from what we can tell, you are taking the Metro Flu system to the 1990s British Ministry, where you're going to join Harry, Ron, Hermione, and actually a new character named Higgledy as you are kind of chasing the fugitive Dolores Umbridge. So I'm very excited to see everything that happens here. I've never seen another ride like the Tower of Terror system, so if this is like that, but at the next level, I am super stoked to see how this ultimately operates. But what's really nice about this ride is it does have a minimum height requirement of 40 inches, but that is really nice because there are a lot of rides at Epic Universe that have a 48-inch height requirement, so it'll be cool to see something that's kind of in the middle. This ride also does have single rider, which is actually really nice because the ride vehicles themselves, I'm guessing, are going to have quite a lot of seats, which means that you could easily just fit yourself into one of the open options there. So unlike some of the other attractions that we do have in the Wizarding Worlds, this one might have a really good option for single rider. As we cover some of the other entertainment and offerings inside of the Wizarding World here, keep in mind there is a lot of French activity happening here, and they even said a lot of these stores and just the writing in this area will be in French, so we might need a little bit of a translation. However, for myself personally, I might not pronounce everything correctly here, so just bear with me as we get through it. Now, one thing that will be quite the hit, and it is not the Battle at the Ministry, will be Le Cirque Arcanu, and this is going to be a live theatrical production inspired by the magical circus from Fantastic Beasts. This is a full-scale theater experience featuring live performers, puppetry, and some state-of-the-art special effects, bringing to life the wonders and mysteries of the Wizarding World's most infamous traveling circus. As you know, inside of the Harry Potter universe, whenever they go inside of these tents, all of a sudden, the place is massive and just overwhelming, but on the outside, it doesn't look that big. And from what I'm hearing, they mastered that illusion here. So I'm very excited to see how they ultimately do that, because I have no clue. The tent doesn't look that big, but somehow they have done it. And no visit to the Wizarding World is complete without indulging in some culinary delights. And over here in the Wizarding World, we are going to have quite the French cuisine, considering that is where this land is based. So I'm excited to see the difference that we're going to have here, because I do feel like Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley do have a lot of similarities, where I think over here in the Ministry, it is going to be completely different. We have 4 quick service options here, and one of them is quite easy to pronounce, and that would be Bar Moonshine. Now the other 3 here, I'm about to butcher, so bear with me here. We have Bioreconstruct. Again, that's probably the hardest one to pronounce. Then Café Layer de la Sirene and Le Goblet Noir. That one felt kind of easy. So definitely 3 pretty heavily French themed restaurants here, which is very, very cool. We do have a few shopping options as well inside of the land, which again, we do see across all of our worlds here. The last thing we do need to talk about inside of the Wizarding World is obviously the wand interactions and all of the fun activities to do around the land. Now, we just did get the 2nd generation wands, and we actually do have a video on that, and they are incredible. I've never owned a wand myself, but all of the new interactions and the way that these wands actually interact with you, the app, and just the environment are next level. And I can only imagine over at Epic Universe, it is going to be dialed up to 11. So definitely check that video out if you guys haven't yet. But I think with all of the new interactions that we have with the wands, we could see some very cool things happening inside of the Wizarding World, and they haven't announced a whole lot about it, so it is a little secretive as of now, but I do think we're going to have some really awesome spells to cast. Last, but certainly not least, we have How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk. Now this land looks incredibly impressive. We have 3 attractions in here, all of them vastly different from each other. We have the ability to do meet and greets with the actual dragons. From what we are seeing, there is a dragon in the sky that is flying around. If you want to talk about next level and the advancements we have made in technology, this is the land to look at. All of the other worlds I think are going to be incredible, but I think there's going to be something specifically special about the Isle of Berk and what they have done here. As I did state, we have 3 attractions here inside of the Isle of Berk. And again, all being so drastically different, I am super excited to experience all of them. But let's start with Hiccup's Wing Gliders. Now this is definitely going to give you that experience and the sensation of flying on the back of a dragon here. Now you're going to be doing some swooping and diving maneuvers, along with getting a beautiful view of the entire land as you're traversing throughout. Now, one thing that I do want to point out with this ride is it does actually have a height requirement of 48 inches, so definitely on the taller side here. But I do think a lot of people are underestimating this ride. I think it is going to be a lot more intense than you think, but not quite up to the Stardust Racers or something like that. But I do think it is going to be a lot of fun. You're going to have to give this one a try. Next up, I want to talk about the Dragon Racers Rally, and this does have a minimum height requirement of 48 inches, but this ride is super cool because we are kind of the new Vikings coming in and we are training to be the next big dragon rider. And so you're going to go on here, and as much as you want to spin and do tumbles and somersaults here, you can, or you can just kind of glide and enjoy your time. But either way, we have never seen an attraction like this here in the parks down here in Orlando. So it is very cool to see this type of ride come here to, again, Epic Universe now. Last up, we do have Fire Drill, which doesn't have a height requirement listed, which is pretty nice, but I want to read the description straight from the site. And it says, in Fire Drill, Viking twins Roughnut and Toughnut have transformed Berk's Fire School into a watery, interactive boat battle at sea where teams of Vikings compete to outsoak each other. Tell me that doesn't sound like a blast. On a hot day, you are shooting each other across the way, but what's really unique about this ride is it just makes sense. Inside of Isle of Berk, we have dragons flying all over the place, and we are learning to pretty much be able to put out the fires that could potentially start from the dragons. So that is the whole reason that this ride exists. It's meant to be this kind of fun take on what could potentially happen in Isle of Berk, and I absolutely love it. Though I don't think it's going to be the most thrilling attraction, I think it is going to be a very well themed attraction for sure. We do also have a Viking training camp, which will be a kids area, which always love to see that they implement things like this because it'll help the kids just burn off some of their energy if they aren't quite able to burn it off as they're waiting in lines all day. So love that. We also have a few meet and greets. You will be able to meet Toothless and Hiccup, which is pretty cool. But again, we did see Dart doing some interactions, and I think I'm hearing there's potential that we'll have roaming dragons. I don't know. I don't want to get too hyped, but if that is the case, that would be incredible. But something I am really looking forward to would be the Untrainable Dragon Show. They do have a show called Untrainable over at Universal Studios Beijing, and it has actually won awards for being so impressive. So I think we're going to be in good hands for assuming that we're going to have a fantastic show. They did say it is pretty similar, but there are some changes as well. So I think we're going to have something really special on our hands here. Plus, I think going to a show is just always a great way to get out of the heat in the middle of the afternoons. Now, finally, we do need to talk about some of the dining options here, and we have 3 quick service options: Hooligans Grog and Gruel, Mead Hall, and Spitfire Grill. I do assume Spitfire Grill will somehow be attached to Fire Drill, considering fire is spelled the same way, and based off of the concept art, it does look like it actually sits along the path there. So that's actually going to be kind of fun to be able to watch the water ride come by and ultimately have your food. As we come to a close here at the Isle of Berk, I just want to let you know there are a few things that we don't know all of the details to as of yet, and that would be things like Gobber's Forge. Again, we do hear we will be meeting some of the dragons, but we don't know the specific dragons. They talk about dragons flying in the sky, but again, we don't know which dragons in the sky, so there are a few things that are unknown, but I think there are going to be a lot of hidden treasures. I just feel like a lot of people are sleeping on the Isle of Berk because there are so many incredible worlds coming to Epic Universe. But don't sleep on this land. I think there is going to be a lot of offerings here. And as I mentioned, I think the technology is going to be incredible, probably the best out of any of the lands here. So either way, I think that has covered now all 5 worlds that we will be experiencing inside of Epic Universe. Well, that was a lot of information, and how are you feeling? Do you feel like you are now a little bit more ahead? Do you understand it just a little bit more? Hopefully this video did help you out a lot. Again, there is a lot coming to Epic Universe, and there are things that we did not even get to cover in this video because they are not even announced yet, and they are in the middle of previews. Now, again, we do hope to get into annual pass holder previews in the next few weeks or next month or so, but you know that we will be there opening day and all weekend long, so we will have plenty of content covering Epic Universe for you in the future. Now, if there are some things that you want to specifically know about Epic Universe, make sure to leave them in the comments below so we know where you guys are kind of at when you are looking for content for Epic Universe, and hopefully we can cover it in a future video. Now, when it comes to things like food and rides, obviously we'll be covering them throughout time, but if there's definitely something a little bit more specific that you want, definitely let us know. Now, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you had a good time with me here today, and hopefully you were able to gain some knowledge here going into the Epic Universe planning process. Either way, we'll see you guys in the next one, and thank you so much for being here.